What's good, YouTube, man? And today, we're on break week, so we don't actually have a chapter review this week, so it's kind of sad. But seeing as the chapter we had left off on was so hype and so peak, you know, not too mad, because obviously Oda gave us something good. He cooked up something good before he gave us a little break. But regardless, it's just going to be a little video. We're just going to be talking about, the hate that kid's getting, the love that kid's getting, the hate Oda's getting, stuff like that. And I touched upon it in the chapter review last week, and I brought up a couple key points, obviously, as to why it makes sense for him to lose and whatnot. But this is just going to be more just focus on kid over in general. So when we're introduced to kid, we're introduced to him, obviously in Sabaody, and him having a higher bounty than Luffy. But there's one caveat. They make sure to let us know he got that through killing civilians and just being evil, and basically everything that Luffy was, he was the antithesis. Can't say that. Antithesis of Luffy. He was the opposite. He was doing things the opposite way with the same goal in mind, but opposite means of getting to that goal. And so this is where people start to form the whole Kid and Luffy rivalry. However, the thing that we forget that the story shows us is that the story tells us that this can potentially be Luffy's rival, but it does a poor job at showcasing it, because Luffy doesn't, I won't say he disregards Kid as a rival, but he doesn't, he doesn't treat him hostile. He doesn't treat him like he's trying to one-up him until, we have the moments where they're fighting fodder and he wants to show them up. And then we have the funny scene where him, Kid, and Law are playing chicken to see who's going to get out of the way of Kaido's bolo breath. But outside of those key moments, what makes a rival, in my opinion, is how they talk about the other person when the other is not around, how they act when the other isn't around. The iconic rivals, Goku and Vegeta. Vegeta can be talking with somebody else or fighting with somebody else, and if Goku's referenced, he pays homage to the fact that that's his rival. He doesn't say he might not say those exact words, but he just has that air of respect, or that passion to one up Goku and whatnot. Whereas, and it's vice versa with Goku as well. Whereas Luffy, now granted, the story doesn't make it a point to give Luffy the opportunity, but it just doesn't hit home. It doesn't hit the same. And you might feel differently. You might pick up on stuff that I haven't. So, this is by no means an all-encompassing fact of Kid and Luffy, and it's the Bible of if this is right or not. Obviously, this is always subjective, but Kid in himself has never felt like a real rival for Luffy. So I know a lot of people wanted Kid versus Luffy, especially after Wano. That's what they hint at, hey, we're splitting up from here. Next time we run into each other, we're gonna be right. We're gonna be opponents and whatnot, fighting for the One Piece. And cool, but the fight would just want it. It doesn't I don't see how it plays off in my head. I don't see how Luffy goes from saving you in Udon and fighting alongside you to now he has to fight you seriously. It just doesn't. It would be something Luffy has never done before. We've seen how hard it was just for him to fight Usopp. And that was him holding back. And it was a reason he had to fight because, Usopp crossed the line. Zoro told Luffy Usopp crossed the line and whatnot. So it was it had to happen. Whereas Luffy fighting Kid, you can say obviously oh, it's for the One Piece. That's Luffy's goal. But it still doesn't fit. It doesn't play out to me. Same with Law. Law and Luffy cannot fight seriously. It just too much history with them. Too much history. Law saving his life back in Marineford. The Dressrosa stuff. the Wano stuff, it's just like Law's, like they say, Law's an honorary Straw Hat. And unfortunately, it looks like Law might be out of here with Blackbeard fighting him, but well, hopefully we'll get that in 1080. But this is all about the kid. So people are upset that they think that we spent a lot of time developing Kid in Wano just for him to lose in the very next arc and be basically KO'd out the series. In my opinion, I didn't get that a lot of development for Kid. The most character like moment I felt for Kid was when they were in Udon and he said he's killer first for the first time with the after he's eating a smile, he's basically losing his mind, and Kid's actually like, like partner, he's like, he's really sad and whatnot, saying what's killer become, he's calling out for him, talking about like, their goal and dream or whatever, stuff like that. And that was the one time out of the entire arc, actually out of the entire like time of knowing Kid, that I actually felt I knew something about this guy. And granted, I know that Kid had an a little bit of an SBS backstory with Killer, I believe. But I mean, the general population isn't reviewing SBSs, so. But it just doesn't hit home to me. Like, I didn't feel like, yes, obviously we know Kid was a main player in the thing. That's just like saying we wasted so much time with Beijing, or Capone, to make it easier. We spent so much time on Capone and Whole Cake just for him to disappear and be irrelevant later on. In my opinion, we got more for Capone than we did Kid. So it's like, yeah, I would care more when something happens to Capone than I would care more about if something's happened to Kid. And this is like, I'm not a anti-Kid person. Like, I don't hate Kid. I just don't think he just Oda didn't make an impact of Kid on me. Now, he's obviously made an impact on a lot of other people, whether that be because they picked up on some story element that caught up on them, or they just like his character and like his design, his like extreme boastfulness and confidence, but he just didn't do it for me. And so to touch into the part of like why it makes sense as to why he lost, Kid has always been shown to be a failure. Once the New World hit, he was known for taking pretty much the most L's. He lost his arm to the Red Hair Pirates early on. He got thrown in Udon prison by Kaido. Granted, he was betrayed, but they were still going to lose. So, and the thing is, like, people don't realize that he would still be in Udon, or possibly dead, if Luffy never shows up at Udon. Luffy saves him while Queen is torturing him, dunking him underwater. And granted, like, if Luffy's not there, maybe he doesn't get thrown into that torture situation, but he's still like in prison or gonna be dead without Luffy there. So it's like people are up in the uproar, like, how can Kid do this stuff to Big Mom and then just get one tap by Shanks? And a lot of people think some people think Kid was doing the heavy lifting against Big Mom, whereas some people think Law was doing the heavy lifting. And I think it's just like there are certain attributes to the fight. Kid was more of the brute force attack, whereas Law was strategically, hitting impact points, getting very... I felt like if you had to ask me, I think Law's impact on the fight meant a lot more than Kid's, but I think without the other one, there wouldn't have been a success. So it just doesn't make me upset, or doesn't make me question why Kid got one shot by Shanks, because we have been constantly told that, hurting Shanks' loved ones or friends and pissing off Shanks is just like something you just do not do. You just don't do. We seen even Green Bull get a little scared when Shanks got pissed because he thought Green Bull was trying to take advantage of them after they've been injured in a long fight and whatnot. And he was just, Green Bull was like, nah, fam, I'm out. And granted, I'm not saying that he was scared of Shanks, but I'm saying he acknowledged that this is not a good idea. So, Kid, even though he didn't actually do the thing, but he was going to do the thing, because obviously Shanks had future sight and saw what was going to happen, and he acted before it could happen. It makes sense as to why Shanks was so serious and basically just one tap Kid, and that was it. So overall, I don't have an issue with it. It makes sense. And if we want to go deeper down into it, like using other, like pulling from other outside sources, like Oda always like bases stuff off other certain things. The Captain Kidd, the pirate, was known to be the most unlucky pirate on the seas. So obviously, if Kid's representation of that kid makes sense because he's very unlucky. But grantedly, some of the stuff isn't luck. Some of the stuff is just he's just freaking stupid. Like Shanks wouldn't have attacked him if he wasn't attacking Shanks. So that's the thing you got to think about. So this is just a little video, just expressing my thoughts on like how I felt about the whole Kid thing, situation and whatnot. And if you feel differently, hey, drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Tell me what you disagree with what I said. Tell me something you might agree with. But please hit the subscribe button, like, and I'll catch y'all later next week when we have another video to review, another chapter review. So, all right, y'all. Peace.